get started. I'm starting a little bit late, and I apologize for that. But with the congestion on the freeway, we like to give a little tiny bit of leeway at least, and we hope some more people come in the room as well. So thank you all for coming. Thank you to all the candidates for coming. This is the Novato Chamber's candidate forum for City Council. We've done these forums every year since before most of us were even born. This chamber has always been involved in City Council races and been concerned about the races and how they come out. And we actually, as a chamber, almost always endorse candidates that we think represent what the chamber interests are in the community and best represent what we think is concerns of ours. So we conduct these forums for two reasons. One, for our own purposes, to gather information about the candidates, and for the public, the general public, to also get to understand and know what these candidates think and feel about issues in Novato. I would like to do a couple of thank yous. First to Novato Oaks in Best Western Plus, where you're sitting, for the room. They provided this room for us at no cost to the chamber to provide the forum today. I'd also like to thank Novato Community Television, Pam and her staff, who are recording today's session, and it will also be airing many, 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 many times over the next month and a half, and I'll tell you that schedule at the end. And I'd also clearly like to thank our Business Education Committee and our Government Affairs Committee, who helps set the format and the questions we ask the candidates. So first, let me at least just introduce you to each candidate. They all have names in front of them, so you know who they are, but I'm just going to state we have 8 candidates running for council. There are 3 seats open, 4 city council seats this year. The candidates are in alphabetical order, and that's how we did it. It was the easiest way to do it. We have Barry Buckley, Gary Butler, Pam Drew, Josh Friday, Steve Jordan, Eric Lucan, Jean McClamey, and Eleanor Sluice. Okay. So I'm Coy Smith. I'm the CEO at the Chamber of Commerce here in Novato. I'm going to be your moderator. Usually I give this role to Dick Spotswood and Renai J, but he's on vacation. Oh. So good for him. Let me go through the format for you so you understand how we're doing this today. I'm going to give you some ground rules. Since we have so many candidates, we're changing our format a little bit in a sense so that we can get in as many questions as we can, because clearly answers to questions is why you're here. So we wanted to maximize that. So with that being said, there will be no opening statements from any of the candidates. And then there will be about 4 or 5 questions pre-done by the Chamber of Commerce. And each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond to that question. Usually we give more, but we want to get more answers in, so we're limiting them to 60 seconds. And I ask you to please adhere as much as possible to that 60 seconds. We will then take 2 to 4 questions from the audience, depending on how much time we have. If you have a question that you would like, we have index cards. We'd like you to write them down on an index card, and you can give them to Christina. She's in the back of the room. She will collect them and get them over to me, and then we'll all look at questions and decide which questions we're going to ask from the audience. So we won't be having the audience raise your hands and ask any questions to the candidates. If you want it, write it down on an index card for us. At the end of the question period, each candidate will have a 90-second closing statement that they can say whatever they want to do to wrap up. I would like to point out we have a timekeeper in the room, Alan Jaffe from our Business Education Committee. He will be the one candidate who will flashing cards up in front of you. When you start your answer, he will do nothing. When you have 30 seconds left, he will flash a 30-second card. When your minute is up, he will flash a please stop card. And then if you don't stop, about soon after that, he's going to ring a bell on you. So right, you don't want that to happen, okay? So Alan is your guy there for stuff like that. To the audience, let me let you know some things. We always run a polite and respectful forum. Please be polite, civil, and respectful to all the candidates in the room. Please no applause or any booing or cackling or anything to any of the responses from any of the candidates. The only way to have a fair discussion is to make sure we don't give anybody an unfair advantage based on comments from the audience. So we'd like you to refrain from that and save your applause till the end of the forum, please. All right? If you have a cell phone, please turn it off or turn it on silent now so it doesn't interrupt anything we do. And then we're ready to get started. When the candidates came in, since there are 8 candidates, we hope to ask 8 or 9 questions. They came in and they randomly selected a number when they came in the room, and that number represented when they get to answer the question first. 8 questions. We hope each candidate gets to start with the first answer, and then they'll also then get, one time they'll be the last question asked. So with that, we did that random draw, and Eric Lucan is the one who drew number 1. So Eric gets to answer this question first, and then we'll go to Eric's left. So then Jean will answer, and then Eleanor will answer, and then it'll come over to Barry until it gets back to Steve. And that's how we'll rotate. Every question will go that way and back this way till we get it out, okay? All clear? Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right, relax, take a breath. You've all got water, so we're good to go. All right, Eric, let's start with you. The first question we have for the candidates is, one of the first and most important decisions the new council will make is the selection of a new city manager. Tell us what qualities you would like to see in Novato's new city manager and why.
Absolutely. Before I start that, I have to mention that our current city manager, Michael Frank, has done an incredible job, and we have big shoes to fill with his role. The characteristic that I most look for and will look for in a city manager is somebody that's able to build consensus. That's consensus amongst the community, somebody that can be out in the community and can communicate well with the community. A city manager that can also build consensus amongst their staff. They have to be a good manager. We have over 200 full-time employees in the city of Novato, and then ability to build consensus with the council. It really is a difficult task to be able to do that in those 3 realms with the community, with their own staff, and with the council. But that's really I think the best quality and the best characteristics that I will be looking for in a city manager to move our community forward.
Jean.
We need the mic.
I forgot the mic.
I'm so sorry. Please use the microphone.
Okay. Well, I would echo Eric. Michael Frank has done a fabulous job of bringing in really quality people. We have the strongest management team that we've ever had, and he got us through the recession beautifully. What we are looking for is someone that is great at the outside work. He has to be the face of Novato along with the city council. And he actually hires and fires all the other staff. The city council hires the city manager, and we need a city manager with integrity, one that can see things that need to get done, will follow the strategic goals of the council and get them accomplished. And I think that'll do it.
Yes. Michael Frank has done a job that the city council wanted him to do. The question was, later on, was he listening to the neighbors and to the people who live in Novato? And it seems like that there was a lack of transparency. So what I would like to have in our next city council election, and people who will look at the city manager and say, we want somebody who listens to people, who's more involved, for instance, with Multicultural Commission, and the city council will say, we need more people in the Multicultural Commission. We need a diverse group to have the city manager say, hey, we need to work with all the people in Novato, not just to rubber stamp what the Transportation Authority is doing. So there is an issue there with the type of person that we hire.
Barry, can you use the microphone, please? Thank
you. I am very pleased to be here today. Beyond that, Michael Frank and I didn't have any kind of a relationship until he resigned, and then I quickly asked for a meeting with him and was given about 30 minutes the day after he announced his resignation. It was a, I thought, very informative meeting because he told me a lot of things that he had been doing that I had no idea were going on, specifically at Hamilton. It's hard to say what type of city manager I would be looking for. It's kind of like what qualities I would want. I would want somebody with some government experience, but I think if I had a prejudice towards a city manager, I'd like to get somebody who was from this area, if possible. Not necessarily Marin, but the Bay Area, and sort of understood type of issues that we have here in Novato. Thank you.
The city manager is the general manager of the city and oversees the staff. I think the important qualifications are that they need to be self-confident, creative, have a history of working well and collaborating with others in their city council or other organization environment. They need to lead and develop staff, develop backup capability between senior staff, heads of departments, and their lieutenants. Most importantly, they need to be able to listen to the community, take that information, compare it with what the city council is setting in terms of policy, and pull that together to create action for Novato to make it better.
Well, I want to thank Michael Frank for his service to the community, but I'm running on change, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to have a change in the majority on the council and have a change in the city manager. I believe a city manager needs to be able to speak the language of the people, and he needs to be able to communicate clearly. He needs to understand his role is not one of a political interventionist, but he needs to be able to manage the financial and staff aspects of the city's business. If he can fill that role and fill it honestly, that's the sort of city manager I'm looking for.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for having us here today. Coy, I think you're right. I think it is going to be one of the most important decisions that the City Council makes and will make in deciding this. The city manager needs to be someone who first and foremost has the trust of the community and of the City Council. And building that trust and having experience working in different kinds of communities where you build consensus and are transparent is critical to doing that job. It's where everything starts in government, is from a place of trust. So I think a city manager who, whether he or she has the experience in understanding best practices for transparency, understanding best practices for how to bring a community together, how to outreach to a community on hard issues, and make sure that we're nurturing dialogue that's effective and productive for our community. I think that's critical. We also have some tough budget decisions coming up that we're going to have to make, and we need a city manager who's going to understand what it takes to really invest in our future as a city and make hard decisions, run a lean and efficient budget, but make sure that we stay safe and strong.
Being last, I'm in the envious position of just saying ditto to everything that was said up here. But being a manager myself, I own Creekside Bakery, and I used to be the manager at Egger Nurseries. I understand very clearly what you have to be a good manager. You have to be forthright, you should be honest, and you should be a visionary and also a leader. So I think whoever we choose should embody those qualities, but also have the capacity and the ability to understand the dreams and the desires and the aspirations of the citizens of Novato that elect us as their city council and help make those a reality in this town.
Thank you, Steve. Let's move on to our second question. Gary, you drew number 2, so you will answer first.
Okay.
And then we'll go to Pam and Josh and so on. Over the past 5 years, the city has moved forward on a number of fronts. Considering the actions the city has taken over the past few years, tell us 1 or 2 of the best decisions the city has made and 1 or 2 actions that, in your opinion, was not so good.
I think one of the best decisions the city has made was to listen to the residents regarding the housing element 2007-2014. The city was divided in terms of how to move forward with that. The city staff heard from all parties and actually was successful in working with the state to adjust our requirements and reflect our suburban reality. And I think that was a good, successful, though at times difficult process, but it ended in a very good place for Novato, very appropriate for Novato. In terms of things that are not going well, the first thing that comes to mind is where we are with the bus station. I would have been a fan of the dual platform. I'm nervous about what that will mean for the entrance to Novato And I think we'll find it's a little bit bigger than we hoped.
Well, I'm only the second speaker on this question, but I'm again in the enviable position of just saying ditto. I have to agree with an awful lot of that. I worked steadfastly and very hard with the Housing Working Group in 2010, 2011 to make that 2013 housing element a reality, and I am tremendously proud of the accomplishment of the city of Novato in getting a 20 units per acre designation, and that was largely due to our staff, and a big shout out to Hans Grunt for getting that study done. I think the dual platform decision on the bus stop was deplorable. I think it's an unsafe design. I think we're spending a huge amount of money in a direction that the people who are users, who use that bus stop the most, would not endorse if they fully understood it.
Thank you. Josh?
Thank you. I think one of the most exciting places Novato is going is in our investment in life sciences and willingness to bring the right kinds of companies into our community that are really going to set ourselves up for long-term economic sustainability. We can't have a healthy community if we don't have a strong economy, pure and simple. And our city's willingness to take the lead on this and focus on it and invest in it, I think is really important. I think that we need to continue that. We need to continue to bring those kinds of companies in so that we can invest in the important services and infrastructure of our city. In terms of some places that I think we still need to focus on, last year, our city lost 7 police officers who left our town to go move somewhere else to surrounding areas. I think we have a public safety issue on our hands, and we have to address why we're losing these police officers, and how can we make sure that we continue to both attract and retain the best police officers on our streets to keep our city safe. Thank you.
Steve?
The city taking the lead and listening to the public on the affordable housing issue was, I think, the hallmark of their actions over the last couple of years. On the areas where I think work needs to be done, I think there was a lack of that same approach on the bus stop downtown, and I think that should be revisited. Another one that's closer to me is the council last year on the downtown Novato Business Improvement District overturned a majority protest of business owners by disqualifying, disenfranchising signatures. And I think that's been, in my opinion, a stain on their reputation. And I hope that that would be resolved better this year.
All right, the farther down the line, it's hard to mention things that haven't already been mentioned. Some good points here. I think some of the really positives the City Council has made over the past few years, I look at what's happening in Hamilton. And we just had a vote last night on the Hamilton Hospital site. These were facilities that were in tremendous disrepair, had been vacant for years, and we're finally now seeing progress take place. The Hamilton Hospital site is going to become an 80-room senior care facility with a memory care unit. That site had been vacant for 40 years. So the investment that we're making in some of these buildings is progress that has not been made in over 4 decades. Same thing with the theater in downtown that's just been sitting vacant. We're now starting to see progress. I think those are all positive things for Novato. One thing we absolutely need to do a better job of is with regards to our police department and our police department retention. We recognize that we do have a retention issue. We recognize that it costs our city and it also costs the quality of public safety that we're able to provide to our community, and it's something that I want to focus on next year.
Thank you. The housing element, where we stood strong against the state, they said we were metropolitan like San Francisco. We said, no, 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 we're suburban, and we stuck to our guns with the 20 to 23 units an acre. The other thing we did, we said, we don't need 9 sites, let's go for 5. And Denise and I crafted that. And we also got our 20% inclusionary affordable, because it's much better if affordable housing is spread through the community rather than clustered in big developments where it's difficult to manage. Fiscally, we've done a good job, I think, of identifying what our costs are going forward. We have to come up with a sustainable budget. The negatives, I think, the bus transfer facility, that's a land use issue. It's not a facility issue. We should have slowed the process, just like we did with the housing element, step back, give everybody an opportunity, because I don't think it matters if it's center, side, whatever. It's concern about what the state might do to us down the line. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I've been a resident here for about 23 and in the area about 25, and Californian for about 50, 60 years now, I guess. Anyway, the major pluses is that the people I'm talking to, 40, 50, 60, they want to retire here. They want to retire here till the end of their lives. So what's Novato doing for the parks and the recreational areas? What is Novato, the city, doing for the multicultural areas? We need, oh goodness, and I do support whatever everybody else has said, but it's public safety, investing in our workforce, and also coordinating with the College of Marin, with a high school. We need technicians. We need highly educated people. So I think the emphasis would be on really looking at our priorities. It's not about sustainability, because you cannot project more than 5 or 10 years. It's deeper than that.
Thank you. Barry, can you guys pass this microphone here down to Barry so he can respond? Thank
Would
you.
it be all right if I stood up?
You may stand up if you choose, sure.
Thank you. I can't see the people in the back of the room, but now I can. The best decision the city made this year was to put the sales tax increase, or the sales tax Measure C on the ballot. I would say that was a pretty darn good decision. I was involved with the SMART campaign. That's where I met Coy. I met many of the people in the room, Gene. I got very involved with the city back then. The past 5 years, I haven't been going to many council meetings. I really don't have a reason to go, frankly. I know everybody on the council and pretty much like all of them. I went to high school and junior high with Pat Eklund. But anyway, the worst decision the city made this year, I don't know. I'll take a mulligan on that, all right? So I want to stop. Thank you.
No comment. Eleanor, you drew number 3. You will go first with this answer, okay? Here's the question for you, and then it'll come straight over to you, Barry, and then go down the table. In 2013, the city performed a retail market analysis that concluded the city is losing approximately $2.4 million annually in sales tax revenue because Novato residents are traveling north to Sonoma and south to San Rafael to purchase goods and services. If elected, what will you do to turn this around?
At this point, I have a problem with the statistics, with leakage. There will always be leakage, and I think that because of the traffic, we can't go anyplace else outside of Novato for many of us. So what we're doing is using the internet and having goods shipped to us. So we do not want to become like, I don't even think this is, well, maybe it is. We do not want to become like San Rafael. It's urbanizing, and Novato does not want to become urbanized. So, and that's the people who are living here, from the families, the seniors, and all the different groups who live here. We want to keep Novato a small town, not urbanized. So I think the leakage issue, every year, there's always a new buzzword: leakage, sustainability, green, climate. And I think we have to look at our vision, our values. That's what's important to me.
Thank you, Eleanor. Barry.
I'm going to let you repeat the question.
Sure.
And you can burn some of my time if you want.
Sure. In 2013, the city performed a retail market analysis that concluded the city is losing approximately $2.4 million annually in sales tax revenue because Novato residents are traveling north to Sonoma County and south to San Rafael to purchase goods and services. If elected, what will you do to turn this around?
Well, I can do something about that before I'm elected. I'm going to actually go out and I'm going to be the first one here to actually ask the voters to do something. And I'm going to say reject the sales tax increase, because that will make us more competitive with San Rafael. Will really be, I don't know, will be at least a half a point, maybe 3/4 of a point cheaper in the sales tax, and will be more competitive with Petaluma. Petaluma's, I think, 8 1/4. We're currently, Eric, help me out. What's our sales tax here? 9%. Okay, 9%. So we'll be at 8 1/2. And if this thing loses, and I'm going to recommend you guys don't vote for it.
Gary.
I think there are two things to focus on. One is supporting the downtown. In the last few years, the Downtown Novato Business Association has been doing a better and better job about focusing on what their activities are, promoting the downtown, helping that become a more vibrant part of our town, and helping to drive sales tax growth. The city has been assisting in that in a productive way, and I would like to see that we continue to do that. The other is to develop the North Redwood corridor. We have the moratorium now. We're looking to coalesce the properties and to do a larger lifestyle development. I think that development can be complementary to the downtown and create a destination that would support economic growth.
To begin with, I question some of the underlying assumptions of a leakage study. Novato is not the same type of town as San Rafael, and it is not geographically located either as San Rafael is or as Petaluma is. Both of these towns were centers for trade historically and over time. So as our population increases, yes, we can carry more and more retail facilities. But to imagine that none of our people should be going north or south to buy goods is simply ignoring history. I am for supporting the downtown merchants. I'd like to see their assessments reduced. I'd like to see some other premiums offered for downtown merchants. But to imagine that we are San Rafael is simply wrong.
Josh.
Thank you. And this is a critical issue for our city. We have to build a stronger economic base in our city. We have to. And we have to do that, I think, and I think we can do that without bringing in a bunch of big box stores and maintaining our character. And the way that we do that is, one, we support our small business, and we create a vibrant small business community and continue to support our small businesses here. We have over 2,500 of them. What I think we could do, I think we should have a small business advocate in City Hall, someone who wakes up every single day thinking about how to cut red tape and make life easier for small businesses. I think that's critical. I also think we should develop the downtown theater, continue to push that. Let's finish that project, and let's provide entertainment opportunities downtown for people. And second, as I said before, we have to bring in the right kinds of companies with well-paying jobs. For every well-paying job that comes into our city, it's a 3x multiplier for our community. So if we bring in 50 jobs, a company with 50 jobs, that's $15 million that comes in our community. That's critical, and we need that kind of economic base to be sustainable.
This one's near and dear to my heart because I've been in retail most of my adult life. I don't think the downtown is the answer to this question. I'm guilty of leakage. The umbrellas at my bakery came from up north at one of the large box stores up there. There's goods and services that you need to run a household in this town that we just do not have. And I think we always hear protect the small town character of Novato. I believe that's in the hearts of the individuals and not in the particular buildings. I think this town needs to realize that it needs a better tax base and it needs to provide to its citizens what they are currently going to other places to get. Do we have to be like San Rafael? No, it makes no sense to replicate something. If you want a iPod, you're going to go down to Corte Madera. It's that simple. But I think we could construct something in this town that's unique, that's different, that reflects the character of who we are and what we want to be, and at the same time generate additional retail sales tax dollars.
Eric.
I think it starts by looking at the study and what is the study saying people are going north and south for. We know one of the primary reasons they're going north and south is for general home improvement goods. As a result, I think that we can grow that base here in Novato. For that reason, I took a proactive approach and actually introduced our economic development manager to a contact at a large locally owned and operated home improvement store that is not Lowe's and is not Home Depot. You might know who they are. I think that's something we need to continue to look at. We also need more restaurants in our downtown area. There's a lot of leakage on the restaurant space, and it's very expensive to convert a retail space to a restaurant space. But with Copperfields coming to town, with a theater coming, I think we have enough critical mass where individuals are going to be willing to make that investment and convert more spaces downtown into restaurants, which will all help our tax base.
Thank you. Jean?
Thank you. We can't develop our way out of this fiscal deficit that we have, which is about $2.4 million. We've got very little land left to develop. We know the North Redwood corridor is that area. We're looking at maybe $500,000 revenue out of there. Our downtown is about 1% of our revenue. What we have done is leverage Measure F, thanks to Chris Stewart, really promoting our BioLife Science initiative. We need to grow high-paying jobs and bring in those tech clusters to complement the Buck Institute. We do have, and we also need to retain current businesses and help those businesses grow. And we also need to attract other businesses, not necessarily in the life science. But we are not like San Rafael. We are not like Petaluma. We never will be if I have anything to do with it. This is a charming town, and we need to keep it that way.
Thank you, Jean. Our next question. Pam, you luckily drew number 4, so you will go first with your answer to this question, and then we'll go to Josh. Tell us about your community involvement and service contributions you have made here in Novato specifically.
I first got involved in Novato local politics in 2010. It was a day of awakening whenever the city hall was overrun with a couple of hundred people, where there was no more standing room inside and people were arranged on the green, on the outside. From that, I joined the housing working group and followed it all the way through to 2013's housing element. I have been involved particularly with neighborhoods and various neighborhood associations. Another neighborhood leader and I co-founded Novato Community Alliance. And it is the idea of a neighborhood alliance producing neighborhood organizations in every neighborhood in Novato, and then having those organizations have a representative that goes to an association of neighborhoods so that actually the neighborhoods would have a voice. I believe at this point the neighborhoods are not having enough voice in the running of the town.
Josh.
Thank you very much. I grew up in Novato. This is home, and I left to go get my law degree and then serve our country in the United States Navy. And I spent several years abroad serving our country, and I recently came home. And when I got out of the Navy, I decided to come home and to raise my family here in Novato. And since coming home, I've been the chief operating officer of a national organization focused on clean energy. We have offices all over the country. I run a large budget. I manage several people. And what my hope is to bring that experience, bring my experience serving, bring my experience running an organization, bring my experience working with the kinds of people that we need to bring into our community to help our economic base, and to really help and contribute to the community that I love, the community that's home and the community that I'm going to raise my family in. Thank you.
Steve.
I'm voting for you. That was great. I got involved with the city many years ago. Someone came to Edgar Nurseries with a tree list from the city. And you show a city tree list to a nursery person and we get sort of testy. So I joined a tree committee with Pat Eklund and Ned Lajan and a lot of other people, and that was a first experience on how the city does things. But I bought a business in downtown Novato, the Gift Carousel, in 2002, and got involved with the Downtown Novato Business Association, became a board member, vice president, president, chair of the marketing committee, and I've been involved in that ever since that time. Something that we do twice a week for the community, everybody might know this, we give cookies to the kids after story time at library over at Creekside Bakery. And I think that connection with the community where you talk to people, you see them every day, and it's not on an official basis, it's just on a personal level, is what I cherish the most about doing things in Novato.
Eric.
All right. Well, I grew up right here in Novato. It's my hometown, and I've always had a desire to give back to a community that has given me so much. When I was a junior in high school, I started coaching youth soccer. I never thought that I would enjoy coaching as much as I did, but did that for several years. Coached here in Novato, coached for Novato High School. I volunteered with the Novato Police Department as a chaplain. I served as a youth director with the church here in Novato. I was a board member for the Marin School of the Arts. All of that led up to 2007. I went through the Leadership Novato program with the Chamber of Commerce. That got me involved with Parks and Recreation as I led an effort to raise $15,000 to rebuild a gazebo that had burned down at Pioneer Park. Following that, I applied for and was appointed to the Parks and Recreation Commission by the City Council, served that and chaired that for 4 years, and then ran for City Council 4 years ago. So this is my home. I am dedicated to this community and will continue to give back one way or another.
What a great group of people we have here. Anyway, I've lived in Novato 30 years, and I'm an architect by profession. And I first served then on the Novato Design Review Commission for about 6 years. I was then recruited by then Mayor Bernie Myers to run for City Council. I thought he was crazy, but I decided to jump in. And so there I've been for 12 years. And I've served on various local committees because I think being involved in the community is just the best thing. I'm on the tree lighting committee for many years, the 4th of July committee. I was on the 50th year-long celebration committee, and I'm on the Paint the Town Red committee. And there's an egg hunt in there somewhere too. But I also championed the restoration of the historic City Hall because I felt it was important to preserve that icon. And I've also championed the master plan for the Civic Center, creating the Civic Green, and the city office building to bring government back downtown for civic engagement. And it's a fabulous gathering place now for the community, and hope to complete that next term.
Thank you.
Eleanor.
Yes, I got involved, well, probably after taking the leadership class. And I remember Mike DeGiorgio said, yes, but you have to support everything we do. And you want to keep a small town, and you want to change the millworks into a smaller area. You want to have parking and Whole Foods down there. And he said, that isn't what leadership is all about. And I remember we agreed to disagree. I also took the Green Building Certificate up at Sonoma State. I've been involved with transportation basically back in 2000 when transportation people said, hey, what most people want is a single family home with a little yard front and back to bring up your children. That's what Novato is about. I also belong to the Marin Conservation League. I'm very much interested that we do watch our creeks so they don't flood. And the Historical Society, oh, the museums, they're fantastic. So I'm a supporter for Novato, obviously.
Thank you, Eleanor. Barry.
I'm not going to stand up if no one else is going to stand up. I'm the second of 8 kids. My parents would always say, "Oh, you just want attention." So I grew. Yeah, thank you. I grew up in. Was born in the city. Grew up in Terra Linda, Novato. 37. I've lost track of how many years I've been here. I've been in the same location at Lanham Village across the highway here at Hamilton for 34 years. I don't really want to talk about what I've done, but I will indulge you. I was on the Homeowners Association board for the first 3 years or so. I've been on the but the bicycle committee, bicycle, whatever, pedestrian access committee in the city. I would rather my wife were running for office, because if you know Girl Scouts, you know my wife.
Barry.
I commit one day each week to community service and civic service. In community service, I'm very active in our Rotary Club of Ignacio. I've been the leader of our community service group. I have organized and led trail maintenance projects, Novato Youth Center projects for stage and landscape, a scoreboard at Dunphy Field, and now it leaves me my last project. It'll come back to me. Also active with the Boy Scouts. I serve on a board supervising the review of Eagle Scout candidates. On the civic side, I'm a past former board member for Downtown Novato Business Association. And currently I'm a Novato Sanitary District board member. Thanks.
Thank you, Gary. All right, we're going to move on to question 5. Josh, you're lucky number 5. You get to go first this time, and then we'll go to Steve and Eric. What are your thoughts on Measure F and subsequently Measure C in the upcoming election?
I think it was clear Measure F was necessary in a dire economic time to get our city through some really difficult times and through the recession. With Measure C, I think the council should have let the people decide if Measure F should be extended. I think it would have been the transparent thing to do, and I think the people should have been left with that decision. We have some serious issues facing our city. As I mentioned before, we lost 7 officers last year who left, police officers. We have critical infrastructure we should be investing in. We have parks that we need to clean. We have things that we need to be doing to invest in the future of our city, and I think it should have been left up to the people to make the decision. However, I do think that the Measure C that's currently on the ballot is necessary. I support it, and I hope our community does as well. Thank you.
Steve.
I was an early critic of Measure F simply because it seemed it was targeting specific items and it was billed as a general tax with a different percentage needed to pass it. I think it was sold somewhat disingenuously to the public, so I didn't support it. If it was a 2/3 vote, I would have supported it. I'm not against any tax that 2/3 of the public says they're willing to pay. When they said it would sunset, we were given the distinct impression that there would be no tax. That was at least the way I took it after that 5-year period. So from that basis, I don't support Measure C. But again, if any tax is a 2/3 vote, and that's what the public says that they want to do, I would support whatever the public says to us.
Thank you. Eric.
I think we've made some good progress with Measure F. While I'm not in full agreement with where all the money has been spent, using some of that Measure F funds, some one-time monies to make some investments that would create an ongoing revenue stream or a reduced expense, I think that's been good for Novato. Regarding Measure C, I absolutely and wholeheartedly support it. It is a 1/4 cent. It is lower than the 1/2 cent. I believe that Measure C is something that we do need. We do, as a community, have less revenue per capita than many other surrounding cities. I believe Measure C will bring us up to par. It will close that gap. And what I'm interested in exploring over the next couple of years is getting our fiscal house in order so that our expenses and our revenue are growing at the same rate. To me, that's the definition of sustainability. Once we have done that, then we could look to see what the gap is. If we had just continued Measure F, the 1/2 cent as is, we would not have revisited those assumptions and may have needed to go to 3/4 cent 5 years from now.
Thank you. What I've found with Measure F, it really gave us breathing room, not only to hold our own and backfill where we needed to keep our city sustained or operating, but it also allowed us to inventory what our infrastructure costs were. The federal, state, and local level, infrastructure's been ignored. We never set aside money for infrastructure. We never had the money to set aside. What we determined was that it costs us $1 million a year now to take care of our infrastructure. We also, after the recession, realized that we'd cut too deep in our core staff, so we needed another $1 million to add our core staff. So Measure F, to me, was a transition. Measure C, well, and F2 helped us leverage. We leveraged money with our BioLife Science and our Hamilton reuse, fabulous use of that one-time money. Going forward, we absolutely need the Measure C, but we need to prove to the public what our true costs are. We do need to be like a family budget, having enough money for day-to-day expenses, but also enough to set aside for savings.
Thank you. Measure F was, the intent was to prevent crime, create a safe environment, fix the streets, and the infrastructure for paying for new storm drains, planning for emergencies with a full-time coordinator and adequate maintenance crews. We expected, the people I've talked to want the safety with the police officers. They want the public maintenance workers. So it seems to me that was the intent. Now, the Measure C could be delayed. We do not need it at this time until we get a new council, and that then, at that point, the new council needs to collaborate and build consensus with the businesses and with the neighbors on what do we see as our vision for Novato.
Thank you, Eleanor. Barry.
I spoke about this issue a few minutes ago. First of all, if any of you ever get a chance to study economics, also known as the dismal science, you'll be told that sales taxes are regressive. If you want to label me, I'd like you to call me a progressive. For years, I thought that the sales tax just hurt the people on fixed incomes, the poor among us, whatever. But then I realized that it's also the small business that has, that has to compete with the San Rafaels, the Petalumas, the Valley, the jurisdictions that don't have all these add-ons, the county, the Prop A money from back in 2004, half-cent sales tax. In other words, let's get competitive. That's how we get this done. I incidentally come from a very competitive family. Thank you very much.
Gary.
My view on Measure F was it was an important and appropriate measure and tax given the time, and it actually turned out to be at the right level of tax. I'm a strong supporter of Measure C. I think it is important for Novato given our current financial structure. I think we do have risk in terms of maintaining services. There is a current and recent historical issue with police retention as an example, and I think those funds are going to be key to maintaining a balanced budget and a strong financial position.
Thank you. All right, this next question is number 6. It goes to you, Barry. Oh, I'm sorry. Too early in the morning. Pam, my apologies.
Well, what I want to emphasize is that Measure F and Measure C and the idea of transparency are all intertwined. I agree with Eric Lucan and with Pat Ackland's votes against the budget in the last 2 years. I also agree with their putting the quarter-cent sales tax increase in a ballot measure. I am not sure that we have the proper information to evaluate whether this is really needed for our city at this point. I don't think it would take long. I'd like to see a half-sheet explanation of how the $18 million from Measure F has been spent or is planned to be spent. If I saw that, I could give you an answer about Measure C. So I'd appreciate seeing that. Jeannie mentioned today that people need an explanation for Measure F.
Thank you, Pam. My apologies, Pam. I didn't mean to forget to let you respond. My bad. All right, this next question, Barry, you will go first, and we'll go straight down the table from there, okay? One question from the audience. Working with others who have different perspectives is part of the job of any city council person. Describe a situation where you solved a problem by cooperating with others you disagreed with.
As I mentioned, I grew up in a family of 8. We, well, look. Let's just see what happens in this election, okay? I can pick a fight with everybody up here at this table, but I'm pleased I'm not going to do that. I need to quickly say one thing about Measure F or Measure C. People should not be under the impression that it's a supermajority. It's a simple majority. If the majority want the quarter-cent it's a done deal. Where the supermajority comes in on Measure C is that 20 years from now, the city council needs a supermajority to review it and decide to put it back on the ballot at all. So it's kind of, there's some technical things here that I didn't know until I went to a presentation at the Hamilton Forum. And I would also invite any of you who would be interested in that forum. Well, I'm stopping, thank you.
Gary.
So solving problems with others that may disagree with you or have different perspective obviously comes up over and over. In a government setting, I think about situations primarily in the Planning Commission. 7 people, 7 different views, some topics that can be really challenging and emotional. It starts with listening to others. You need to listen to the community. You need to listen to the other members of the board. You need to understand what their perspective is. And from that, usually, in my case, myself, I learn a little bit from that. I may evolve in my position. Hopefully they do the same. And I think that's an iterative process, and usually you can arrive at a good result in the end. But I think that's how it's done in a government board level.
Well, I have to go back to the Housing Working Group and the sessions that we were having. It's hard to find a more polarized group than that group was at the time in 2010. We all kept at it. Nobody gave up. We ended up with a compromise. We had several minority positions that were filed, but we stayed the course. And we ended up with a product that was not only acceptable to most groups, but was outstanding in the county. We are the only city who got the 20 units per acre on our own steam. We are the only ones. So we're not the city of rage. We are the city that collaborates and works together. So you have something really big to be proud of in that housing element of 2013.
Josh.
Thank you. There's probably no more diverse place in our country than the United States military. And every single day, I had to work with people from entirely different backgrounds to solve real problems that we were facing. When I was working on court martials, we had people from obviously 2 different sides. And you have to get to a place where that's fair and ultimately for everyone. In my current job, we literally work with people who approach a problem like climate change and sustainability from very different perspectives. We bring business people together, faith leaders, economic justice groups, and the key is to understand that and define early what the common mission is. Where do we want to go? What is our ultimate goal? Find that common ground and then start from a place of values. And that's what I do in my job every single day, and that's what I hope to do on the City Council here in Novato.
I work with my wife, 2 daughters, 1 son. I had a nephew there and 2 nieces. So I know how to just give up your position when it seems like it's not going to go anywhere. But what I would do is I like a passionate debate. I always have. I keep going back to Downtown Novato Business Association meetings. Even if I don't particularly care what's going on, I like to be part of that debate. And I think I'm welcome there because I do listen. So what I would expect to have is passionate debate. I don't like compromise, but collaboration to get to a desired end. And then when you're done solving that problem and everybody's had their say, you go out and you have some pizza and some beer, and it's all done.
Steve.
Debate is good, discussion is good. It really all starts with listening. And you need to understand where the other groups are coming from. And I always liken it to somewhere when you've got a difficult decision, you've got 2 interest groups. You might have one group that says, I absolutely love it, one group that says, I absolutely hate it. And somewhere in between there's, but I can live with it. And it's all about finding that point of, yeah, I don't love it, I don't hate it, but I can live with it. And I think a great example of that was with regards to Measure C. I was getting calls from people that saying, put it on the ballot. I was getting calls from people that saying, no tax whatsoever. That's why I took the approach of going with a 1/4 cent and maybe choosing an option that didn't make everybody entirely happy, but I felt it was a middle of the road approach. I also was in the enviable position on the council of somewhat enforcing the issue, so that one's a little bit different. But I think listening to the different groups and finding out where you can meet that middle ground of either I don't love it or I hate it, but I can live with it.
Well, as an architect, we had a saying that a process or design process is like a big X, and at the top of the X is where all the issues come to bear. And what we had with the housing element is people in the top funnel, we had a lot of things we needed to accomplish. We needed to satisfy the state, but we also needed to satisfy ourselves, that what we were going to do with the housing element was appropriate for Novato. And we stuck to our guns on that. And then we had people on both sides of the aisle, some that were scared to death of affordable housing and the elements that it would bring, and those that wanted to build. And so we had to carefully listen as a council with 200 people at our council chamber. We had to listen carefully to what all the interests were, and we finally then, the air went out of the room when we finally said, okay, here's some sites that we all can live with. And we had some neighbors that said, fine, we'll make this work. It's next to us, but we'll make it work. So careful listening and working on in a collaborative way works really well in this town.
Yes, I agree. I would like to say I support Pat Eklund and things that she's done to support the neighborhoods. And I also support Pam Drew because she is for the people here in the neighborhoods, people who want to retire. We have our families, our children, our seniors. And so I have worked with them because for the last 30, 40 years, I've worked with people. My husband and I were overseas working for NATO. We've had the Air Force jobs, also as a tax preparer, as a environmentalist. So I've had to work, also being on the Marin County Civil Grand Jury with 18 other people. Believe me, we had to compromise and work on issues. I've attended many, many workshops over the years, and so I love Novato. I want to see it retain its small town, diversified character. So the big issue, my family says, Mom, you know how to say no. Definitely, I know how to say no, but I also can agree to disagree.
Thank you, Eleanor. Let's move on to our next question. And Steve, you will answer first on this question, and then we'll go to Eric and Jean and back on this end. With the information received from the recent charrettes, please give us your perspective and vision for the development of the North Redwood corridor.
I'll start out by saying I'm a strong proponent of property owner rights. I understand the public has a lot of input into what they would like to see there, but I think ultimately whatever happens there has got to be with the express approval and consent of the people who own those properties. And I'm just going to close out. I got my own personal opinions of what I think would be nice there, but again, I don't own that particular property.
Thank you, Steve. Eric.
Looking at the North Redwood corridor, we know, and especially amongst this audience, that we have very limited commercial land available in Novato. I think that site lends itself well to additional retail, but where the council could come in and has already provided some guidance is that we don't want just your cookie cutter strip mall placed right there. Some of the guidance that we have put together through the charrette process and through the white paper that we put together, I think will help shape what goes in there so that it's more of a lifestyle center. It's a gathering place. It's not cookie cutter. It's something that is unique for Novato. We have so few places left. We can't afford to get the North Redwood corridor wrong. We've got some great examples of what else is taking place in Novato. I think Pacheco Plaza and Hamilton Marketplace have given us an idea of what we can have there and some of the gathering places that can be created so that it's not just a cookie cutter strip mall with a sea of parking in the front.
Thank you. What we have up at North Redwood Corridor is two major big parcels with two owners, or soon-to-be owners. And we've asked them to collaborate with a vision that was developed through the workshop process. We now need to work closely with those developers because if you look at some of their projects elsewhere, they maybe aren't quite what we'd envision here. So we have to be very careful. I agree, there's private property rights, but we also, it's our last big piece of property left to develop, and it needs to absolutely be correct for Novato as our gateway to the north and appropriate for our downtown. And as Eric said, I think Pacheco Plaza on a much smaller scale is a great place for gathering. So you allow, say, medium box gathering places for the public to come and communicate with each other, and really have an asset for the Novato that will help us somewhat with our revenues. But I think I'll stop.
Eleanor, before you start, could you guys pass one of those microphones down this? And they seem to both collect it down at that end of the table.
That's our strategy.
Your strategy, let these guys not talk down here, take their microphone away. There you go. Eleanor.
Okay. The North Redwood corridor is just one fragment of the 28 square miles that we have in Novato. So what goes there, and I've attended those workshops and put my 2 cents in, to keep it close to our agricultural roots, to keep the parcel that it's a farm-friendly atmosphere there. And also, that has to coordinate with what's going in on South Redwood Boulevard. Because if the frontage roads are given away, the trees are cut, the beautiful redwood trees, Novato will be barren. For instance, the bus station, that's going to be a barren, open area. So we can, as a citizen, resident here, and supporting other people, we need to keep our 2-story limits like Tresh Galleria. We do not need to go up 5, 6 stories. So we need diversification within the neighborhoods.
Thank you, Eleanor. Barry.
I have attended a few of the workshops on the North Redwoods corridor, and I get the emails. I wouldn't say I actually read them, but I do know what some of the issues are. First of all, for those of us who have been around here a long time and remember that used to be the highway, it's too wide up there, and we need to design something that is going to be pedestrian, bicycle friendly, that's going to bring people from the SMART station up at the Fireman's Fund campus, perhaps soon to be never mind, I won't talk about that. But anyway, we need to bring people down from the SMART thing. It's going to be a shuttle service, I hope. SMART's going to be involved in that. The city's going to certainly have a lot of say-so in bringing the people through there. And I'm going to miss Marin Landscape if they leave. I really miss the batch plant because I'm a contractor and I like to get my concrete quickly.
Thank you, Barry. Gary.
I think the charrettes were very successful. For those that hadn't seen it, there were more than 100 people that participated with volunteer architects, provided feedback. Architects came back with their ideas and thoughts. Much was expected and not surprising, but a few surprises did come out, which I think are informing the city on how to work with a developer. But maintaining a connection with the Dairyman's building, maybe the silhouette or maybe that structure incorporated some way, taking advantage of the wide boulevard on Redwood in terms of pedestrian or walkability and safe bike paths, the connection from the SMART train down through this area, all came out of that, and strong views from the residents in Novato, which I really think would make it a nice lifestyle center.
Pam.
I too think the charrettes were a big success. I'd like to see the project itself become a big success. I believe that one really huge feature of the development needs to be the carving of outdoor spaces into commons. I believe that if you create these commons, that the people will come. You also need a mix of retail so that people from all different backgrounds and all income levels will be comfortable in this space. The North Redwood corridor relies on connections to the multi-use path, connections to the commuter rail, connections to the car trade or traffic, foot traffic as well. So all of these connections, if they come together with beautiful outdoor spaces, are going to make a tremendously successful retail area.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. One of the things we love about Novato is our community, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to create something that allows our community to come together. That's a place for families and seniors and everyone to have a place that connects to downtown, that supports our business community, and is also integrated and connects with SMART, as other people have mentioned. And so I think it's a great opportunity. My approach on this would be how I would approach all of these types of issues. I think we have to take seriously the environmental impact reports that are available to us. I think we have to take seriously the traffic reports that are available to us. But it seems to me like this is a great opportunity for us to create the kind of community that we want in Novato.
Thank you, Josh. With our next question, Jean, you will go first. Okay, you got a microphone down there? Or are they all down on this end now? All right, Jean, another question from our audience. How can this city address more affordable housing needs for our teachers and public safety personnel and our seniors?
Boy, you're tough.
Sorry about that.
You know, Novato has done so much already. It's just incredible. I'm so proud. We were the first, in terms of affordable housing, to invite Habitat for Humanity here. We have New Beginnings, which has created not only housing but jobs for those less fortunate. And so we're really doing a great job, I think, on the affordable side, and we're doing best practice management too, so that when we do have clustered affordable housing, it's well maintained. As far as seniors go, we just last night approved development for seniors in need. Long-term assisted living. We need, the developer said we could use, you know, 1 or 2 more of those. So we do have developers that have projects on the books for affordable for seniors. And then just for workforce housing, I think Novato still is one of the more affordable places, although we are having people drifting up to Petaluma. Got to keep working on it.
Thank you. The affordable housing has been a contentious issue, and it's going to remain so. When I go out walking, I hear people say, okay, we need to have a balance. And the ideal is to have housing that's split up in the neighborhoods, but not 180, 200 houses, units that will impact traffic. And the whole problem now becomes the transportation agency wants to take over housing. If they do, it means taking away the cars. It means that people will not have cars. And what most of the people who are workers, who are the just regular people who need to go 5 to 10 miles need cars. So housing has to have plenty of parking. It has to have setbacks with trees. It has to have small common areas, as Pam was saying, even for the marketplaces. So housing will become an issue. It has an issue. People want safety and okay, I should stop.
Eleanor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Barry, up to you.
I live across the highway at Lanham Village, which was developed in 81, 82. We moved there in 83. We have 153 units on 20 acres, and we have tremendous open spaces. It was a development that was done for the for Hamilton Air Force Base, the civil servants who actually built the base. So it's kind of cookie cutter, but it's been great. The thing that I have issues with, architecture. I don't like junky looking places. And I also would add that well, anyway, that's it. I've said enough.
Thank you, Barry. Gary? I think housing for workforce, it's important to be near services and transportation. So that's a thought in terms of location. We currently have a significant Habitat for Humanity project going on just north of Grant, downtown, and a number of approved projects for seniors. So actually a pretty good amount of inventory coming down the pike. One thing that I think could be an opportunity is working with Novato Unified School District in terms of teacher housing. They do have some land that's not devoted to education. I know it's of interest to them, and that may be an opportunity for collaboration between the city and the school district.
Coy, I want to hear a phrase from your question. Would you repeat it?
How can the city address more affordable housing needs for our teachers and public safety personnel and our seniors?
Teachers, public safety personnel, and our seniors. If you left out seniors, teachers and public safety personnel would certainly be a phrase out of affordable housing advocates' talking points. What we found very early on in the process was that policemen generally do not like to live in the community of the police force that they serve on. So it's a little bit of a problem whenever you are imagining that you are creating affordable housing for your police force. So that is true to some extent for teachers. So if we are talking about non-unionized private school teachers, people who are making less money, certainly they can qualify for affordable housing. We have a stellar track record of actually building affordable housing in this town. That is another thing that we have every right to be proud of. We have done a good job, and we will continue to do a good job.
Thank you, Pam. Josh?
Thanks, and obviously a very tough issue. We're not an urban community. We're never going to be an urban community. We're not going to have big clusters. But this is an issue where people in our community are hurting. I think of myself. I grew up here and got a law degree and served, came home, and the only reason I was able to afford to buy a home with my family is because I had access to a VA loan. And I think about my mom who has lived here forever and is thinking about retiring and is probably going to have to sell her home. And there's not a lot of options for her. She has to think about leaving our community and leaving her grandkids. So this is an issue where we have to take seriously. How do we provide housing for seniors? And also and workforce housing, as has been stated. Within our particular situation, I think we need to identify lots of opportunities where we can build small units that's informed with the character of our community. And I think those exist out there, and I think we should be aggressive about finding them.
Thank you, Josh. Steve?
On the issue of affordable housing, I don't like to put limitations on who gets to live in it. So I want to go past the teachers and past the other personnel and the seniors. This town has a lot of options in which to live, except small options. One of the new trends these days are small houses, 500 square feet to about 900 square feet. And I think Novato could lead the way in that. And that size house at that square footage fits our 20 units per acre. And I think we could do things where it's not a subsidized affordable house, it's a smaller affordable house that you actually own outright. I think home ownership's one of the key components of having a healthy community as well, because those people invest money in that property different than a rental. So I think Novato should take the lead in that. We have a lot of parcels within the town that I think could be easily adapted to small housing, and that fits for young people like my kids all the way up to someone that's in their 80s like my mother-in-law.
Thank you, Steve. Eric?
When discussing affordable housing, I always like to start by defining what affordable really is. And here in Marin, to qualify for affordable housing, that's a family of four making $94,000 a year would be considered affordable. I think it's important that we understand some of those facts. With skyrocketing rents and real estate, we do need more affordable options here in Novato. Building is just one option to get there. You mentioned our public safety officials. One approach that I've been advocating for and will continue to advocate for is that I think we should provide a stipend to our police officers if they choose to live within the city limits. That's one way that we can compete on rents, where a lot of times our officers are living far away up in Sonoma County or even farther. If we provide a stipend, then we can have officers that are working local, they're establishing roots in our community, and I also think solve some of our retention issues. So there's many different ways to approach the problem. That's just one of them. I'll echo what the last two speakers mentioned as well, is this tiny home movement is really gaining a lot of traction around the area, and we need to keep our eyes on it.
Thank you. And you guys are hogging the microphones again down at that end of the table, so shift those back this way again. Give these other guys a chance. We have time for one more question and some closing statements. We had more questions than we're able to ask. I thank you for supplying them. Obviously, we can't ask everything unless we wanted to be here way too long. So we have one last question, and since every one of you have answered a question first, I'll just go back to who selected number 1 last time, and that's you, Eric. So you'll go first on this last question. And that question for you is, what are your top 3 priorities if elected? And if elected, are you committing to serve your 4-year term?
Yes. My top 3, oh, I need a mic, huh? I just gave it
Oh.
My top 3 concerns, if elected, is that I absolutely remain committed to our long-term fiscal sustainability. That starts with passing Measure C, and then we need to look at the budget moving forward. We need to absolutely continue to improve public safety and provide the security our residents deserve. That starts with addressing the retention issue we have with the police department. And we need to invest in our infrastructure, schools, and parks. Some real other quick items that we will have to address is the hiring of our next city manager and our general plan update that is coming up. And if elected, I have full intentions of serving all 4 years.
Thank you, Eric. Jane.
Okay. My top 3 priorities, I've kind of, through my terms, have looked at an overarching strategy of fiscal, facilities, and land use, and it's served me well, I think. Fiscally, we need to be like a family budget, as I said before. We need to live with, be able to afford our day-to-day needs and have quality service, provide quality service, which is, includes, of course, a police department. We need to then be able to put enough away so that we can take care of our infrastructure. Facilities, we need to have well-maintained and community accessible facilities that serve us well and provide, of course, infrastructure dollars for those. And then land use, we need to have a mission of maintaining our local control. We need to preserve our edge, which is our urban growth boundary, and we also need to protect our hillside ridgelines, and we also need to maintain the heart of downtown. But keeping the local land use control is critical.
My 3 priorities are, first, to save money in the budget and reserve money for our structural deficit, mainly the pension liabilities. We need to put more money into that area for the next 5 years for the pensions. The other part is saving money to prevent crime and create a safe environment, fix the streets, infrastructure, storm drains, planning for emergencies, full-time coordinator, adequate maintenance crews, and to continue our Parks and Recs programs and to build on those for the neighborhoods. It's giving the neighborhoods, my 3rd one, is giving neighborhoods more involvement and really listening to them and retaining local control and not rubber stamping, as we are now doing, the Metropolitan Transportation Agency. And again, thanks to Pat Eklund, we are now becoming more and more aware of outside control, and we have to look at our control here in Novato.
Thank you, Eleanor. Barry.
My top 3 priorities, if elected, would be, first of all, not to embarrass the city. The second one would be to bring the smart system to integrate it with not only Novato, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done with our transportation, but to integrate it with the surrounding cities and counties. For instance, most of you probably don't know that SMART owns the right-of-way to American Canyon. I am currently a project manager on a Caltrans project. I drive 37 every day, and you should see that backup. I'm going against it. I don't have a care in the world. My last thing is I want to focus on Hamilton. I'm going to be a little bit parochial. I'm not going to run over. But I am very concerned about the development that's going to be in my backyard. And I also, as I said, grew up here, and we would go to the Officers Club as kids. And I spoke to Michael Frank about that. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, Barry. Gary.
My 3 issues are a strong financial position, infrastructure investment, and quality of life. The key is a strong financial position. If you don't have that, you can't do anything else you want to do on purpose. So that is fundamental to the city being in a healthy state. Infrastructure, historically, we have handled that on what I'll call a break-fix basis. So as things failed, became obsolete, we would respond. It's more expensive. Being able to plan ahead, the fiscal sustainability plan addresses that, which the city's been working on for these last 2 years, is a proactive way to manage your infrastructure and over time will lower cost. And last is quality of life. Maintaining safe streets and neighborhoods, programs for youth and seniors are all important. And I will serve 4 years if elected.
Thank you. Pam?
I too will serve 4 years if elected. My 3 issues are transparency, compatible development, and open budgeting. Of those 3, I believe transparency is the one that affects this election the most. We as a people need to have trust in our public servants. We have to have trust in the staff. We have to be able to read the communications that are out there. We have to have advance noticing for meetings. We cannot be given a notice on Friday afternoon about a public hearing taking place on a major project on Monday. We cannot be expected as a citizenry to respond to that sort of thing. Citizens cannot read 200 pages over the weekend. Citizens can follow summaries really well. Citizens can follow recaps and other mechanisms for informing them. But whenever the intention is not to inform, the citizen is awash.
Thank you, Pam. Let's go to Josh.
Thank you. Yes, I will serve 4 years, of course, and I think the #1 issue for any public official is public safety, and to ensure the safety of our community and our families and our kids and our seniors. And I think we have some serious issues that we need to look at as a city to ensure that we're keeping our city safe. I also want to make sure that we're continuing to invest in Novato, invest in our infrastructure. I think that means our roads. I think that means our parks. I also think we have an enormous opportunity to continue to lead on energy efficiency. We have the 2nd most electric vehicle stations in the county. We should be really proud of that, and we should continue to find those types of opportunities to lead as a city to make sure that we stay sustainable and that we're environmental, that we're taking care of our community for the long term so that our kids can enjoy what we get to enjoy. And all of that only happens if we build an economic base. If we continue to support our small businesses, but that we also build an economic base of well-paying jobs in our community that will allow us to make sure we keep us safe and continue to invest in our city.
Thank you, Josh. Steve?
4 years?
I think so.
Oh. Yeah.
You can do 3 if you want. You just do 3,
okay,
it's fine.
Yeah. I get to ditto a lot of this stuff here. It's sort of like at the bakery. You have to have a strong financial background. You just do. We can't do anything if we don't guarantee that there's money coming through the door. And we do that by making sure that we serve our customers well. I think the city needs to take a different approach in outreach to the public. I think they do a good job, but I think we can do better. The methods that we use, a lot of people don't utilize them because it doesn't fit their lives or their lifestyles. I also feel that we need to invest in infrastructure, the buildings and that, but also just a general quality of the town. I hear from a lot of people that it's weedy at times, there's garbage. It's just, you feel better if the area is maintained well. And lastly, for my business to do well, you need a very good staff. And so the choice of the city manager, who's going to be the person that's going to carry that down through the entire staff, is critical.
Thank you, Steve. All right, we are down to our closing statements. For this, you get 90 seconds. So, Alan, are you ready with your additional prompt there to let them know? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So you can take a sigh of relief. No more hard questions from us. Now it's just about whatever you feel like saying. 90 seconds to go through that. And since, Gary, you were number 2 on the thing, and we're actually on section 10, you get to go first, and then we'll go down the row. Wait, you need a microphone. You guys just are never going to learn, are you?
Whatever.
All right, Gary, all yours.
Thank you. The first question tonight was, what are our thoughts about hiring a new city manager? And so the question that will be important for the next 4 years probably weren't asked today. So I think it really comes down to character and experience of the candidates that you're looking at that are going to handle the issues that are unknown. I also think it's more important to demonstrate those capabilities than to talk about them. I fumbled a little bit on community service and what I do. I'm not really comfortable talking about myself, but it comes with the job. I'm going to try again. So why me? I'm not a politician. I'm not running for political gain. I'm focused on doing what's right for Novato. That's my focus. That's my demonstrated experience in the roles I've played in local municipal government. Currently as Novato Sanitary District Board member, previously as a planning commissioner. I'm committed to this community. My wife and I have raised our kids here, public schools. Debbie is clearly very involved in the community as a director in the Novato Unified School District, and very involved in community service with Rotary, Boy Scouts, and University of San Francisco. I'm endorsed by a number of people. Jean McCleamy and Denise Athis endorsed me from the Novato City Council. All 4 of my peers from the Novato Sanitary District. Where do you hear that? I think that really demonstrates an ability to work well with others and be effective. Most importantly, my endorsements are from leaders and residents of Novato, not from somewhere else. I'm interested in what Novatoans want to do for Novato, not what somebody else wants to do for Novato.
Thank you, Gary. Pam.
It's lovely to see such a wonderful crowd today. These are people who are truly engaged and truly involved and really want to know. I want you to know that I have been endorsed by the Sierra Club, and taking care of our environment, protecting our ridgelines and our open spaces is a high priority for me. I've also been endorsed by Pat Eklund, Bob Ratto, Susan Stomp, and Gail Wilhelm. Not to mention Tony Schroyer. So you can see I am running on change. To reiterate the 3 points of my campaign, it's transparency, compatible development, and open budgeting. I think we need to resist some of the outside pressures for urbanization that we are being confronted with every day in Novato, and I think we need to decide Novato's future ourselves, not let somebody else decide Novato's future for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pam. Josh.
Thank you, and Coy, thank you for moderating and stepping in for Dick today. Appreciate that, and for all of you coming out in your morning to be part of this really important process. I love Novato. I grew up here. I lived in 9 different homes growing up. You pick a neighborhood, and I probably lived there. And Novato, for me, was always a place where if you worked hard, you could give your kids every opportunity for them to achieve their dreams. And I got to leave here and go get a law degree from UC Berkeley and then go serve our country in the Navy. And I came home to raise my family here. I moved home. And since then, I've been the Chief Operating Officer for a national organization focused on clean energy. And I moved home to raise my kids here and to keep Novato safe and strong. And I want to use my experience to do that. And what does it mean to be safe and strong? It means we have to have an efficient city government. We have to do that. I'm going to use my experience running a large budget with discipline to do that. It also means we have to build an economic base. We have to do that. And how do we do that? We support small businesses. We get a small business advocate working every single day for you and for the businesses in our community to make life easier and to make you more productive. And then we attract the right kinds of companies, the companies with our values. So I'm running to be independent and pragmatic and to represent our community, to contribute to our community, and I'm excited for Novato. I believe in Novato. I believe we can be stronger. I believe we can be safer. I believe we can be more sustainable. I believe we can be more fun. And I believe we can be more fiscally sound. And I believe we can all do that together. So thank you, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you, Josh. Steve.
I got to vote for you again. I came to this town 35 years ago. It wasn't by choice, but it turned out to be a pretty nice choice. And since that time, I've been in service to customers at nurseries, at the bakery, and through that service, I have developed a desire to be a representative of those people that I get to talk to every day, that you hear in that informal setting what they really think about what's going on. And so I'm just honored that that ability exists in this country, that we can have you elect us to be your representative. I have the highest hope that 5 people sitting around me here don't win, and that I'm one of the ones that gets elected, because I believe, no offense guys, I believe that I can be a good representative of the people in this town. I think that Novato is full of opportunity. I think there's things that we sometimes let that feeling that's in the rest of the county that we're the northernmost city in Marin, that we're that not really Marin, not really Sonoma. I believe we have a lot to be proud of, and I think there's a movement afoot from outside forces, could be our county, could be the state, could be the federal government, that are prepared to tell us what to do. And I don't think that that's the nature of Novato. And I would like to be a representative of the citizens here and carry that message to those other organizations. So I really appreciate your vote. I appreciate everybody that came out today, and I'm honored to be up here with these people ready to serve as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Eric.
I just want to start by thanking the Chamber for putting on this forum, for everybody coming out, to my colleagues here, and to everybody who's going to be watching this on TV over the next several weeks. Why am I running for re-election? I'm running for the same reason why I first ran 4 years ago. I'm running for the same reason why I commit 10 to 15 hours a week to this community outside of my full-time job. I'm running for the same reason why I served on the Parks and Recreation Commission, went through Leadership Novato, coached youth athletics, and volunteered in the community. I'm running because I want to continue to give back to this city and this community that has given me so much. Steve Jobs often talked about finding something that you love, and I've truly found it in serving Novato. I believe I've served this community well over the past 4 years, and in that time we've improved as a city, and I've improved as a city council member. Moving forward, I'm committed to fiscal sustainability, starting with passing Measure C, continuing to improve our public safety, and investing in our infrastructure, schools, and parks. I'm honored to have the endorsement of current council members Denise Athis and Madeline Kellner, as well as Congressman Huffman, Supervisors Judy Arnold and Steve Kinsey. I think that all supports my ability to work collaboratively and strongly represent our city. And I'd be honored to have your support so I could continue to serve for another 4 years.
Thank you, Eric. Jean.
Thank you for all being here today, and you're all welcome to come to our council meetings. Sometimes we're alone, unless there's a contentious issue. Thank you, Chamber, for sponsoring this and all the assistance we have with the videographers and so forth. I love this town. I've been here 30 years, and I found out, or I started to think about, I've been here as long as you, Eric, almost, but I was someplace else for the other 30. Anyway, but it's a safe town. It's a real town. We've got wonderful people, folks with 90 years of living that we just celebrated the other night at the Senior Center. It's a family-oriented town. I want to keep it that way. I want to keep Novato with the quality that it has. And we can do that still with some economic development, proper scale, proper heights, proper mass and scale of any development we do. We have fiscal issues we have to really be mindful of. Pension costs continue to rise through no fault of our own. Facilities-wise, I'd love to finish the Civic Center to have more places for gathering. And land use, we need to maintain that edge in the heart of town and really preserve our local control. No matter what the state does to us, we may all have to get on a bus and go up there because the forces that be are trying to take away our control. We can't let that happen. I'll be pleased to serve and for the full 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Eleanor.
Yes, I like Novato. I love Novato. I'm for, and I will fight for, small town character, preserving and protecting our small town character. I will not approve of large densities, high densities, urbanization that increases parking and takes away our small town rural atmosphere. I will fight for reasonable, safe growth, not the high density impact. I will fight for local control, which means we need to go out to Metropolitan Transportation Agency and say, here's where we stand for our needs and not your wants and telling us what to do. I'm going to fight for public safety, not fewer officers. I will fight representing the neighborhoods, not outside interests. Also, an affordable budget, not disrespecting the budget intent of Measure F, respecting the schools, the seniors, the families. So I will fight for all of this, and I didn't know I was a fighter. But we need strong people who know how to say no when the issues come up. We can agree to disagree, and I am definitely not for increasing traffic costs and budget impacts, so we can work together. I am for the neighborhoods and listening to them and what they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Barry, you get the last word.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to be brief. I first want to say that for anybody, any citizen of the United States that ever gets the opportunity to run for office, it is the most wonderful thing. You get to pledge your allegiance to the Constitution of not only the U.S., but the state of California. Josh, have you ever read the Constitution of the state of California? Well, I haven't, I'll tell you that much. So I promised my wife I'd take this seriously. And I'm working the camera right this second because I'm gonna get a copy of this. I'm gonna show it to my mom. So this is gonna be so much fun. We are gonna go for this. We are gonna put Novato on the map again. I think we can get national coverage, personally. And it's not my ego talking here. I have advisors. Wait till you hear my advice. You know, I'll try to get them listed before the election's over. So again, if you haven't run for office again, this is going to be very interesting for you. I'm not here to get endorsements. I'm here to get your vote, and I'm here to win. So specifically, Pam, I mean, that's great. You've got the Sierra Club. And I couldn't be less interested in getting the Sierra Club because you know why? Because I know something about them, okay? They didn't support SMART in the beginning, I'll tell you that much.
Thank you, Barry. I'm good. Thank you. A couple of closing things. First of all, a big warm welcome and thank you to our candidates for today. Appreciate that very much. Two quick things. So as you know, Novato Community Television was taping this for us. It will be airing starting this Saturday. It will air every Saturday at 1:30 until the election. It'll air every Sunday at 3 p.m. until the election on channels 26 and 27.
Yeah, you're selling DVDs? Come on.
You can talk to Pam about a DVD, and that's, you have to have Comcast cable for this. It's also going to air every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. and Thursdays at 8 p.m. So you can watch this over and over again. But it's really there for the people that weren't here. We want to make sure as much as possible the citizens of Novato know what you guys think, know what your opinions are, so they can make an informed elected decision. And finally, our next event is about El Nino. You know El Nino's coming. If you're a business and you're not ready for El Nino, if you're not knowing how to back up your stuff and back up your system so that you can be up and running right away, then your business may fail. So our next event is here in this room, a lunchtime event on October 13th. If you'd like to know about that, there are flyers on the back table. Again, thank you all for coming. Thank you to the candidates, and good luck.